We got a rare chance to see the Green Bay Packers backups play the Indianapolis Colts. What did we actually learn here? I think the answer is not very much, but the Packers won. So maybe that's all that matters.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. This episode brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. The Green Bay Packers did indeed beat the Indianapolis Colts 23-19, even though it looked like Jelani Woods may have scored the go-ahead game-winning touchdown in the final seconds. None of that matters, because what we want to know from a preseason game is, did players help themselves make the team? Did players help themselves start? Or did players hurt themselves when it comes to making the team or start? And we got a glimpse of the Packers backups against, mostly backups, against the Colts starters. Now, are the Colts a great team? No. But I think this is a good illustration of just the difference between the starters and the backups of any team. Like, the backups for most NFL teams, probably for any NFL team, will beat any college team. Like, I know we have this, like, could Alabama actually win a game? No. Like, this, starters in the NFL are all really good players. Okay? So getting a chance to see the Packers backups, it helps separate, okay, who of these backups can actually play? And the ones I wanted to see the most were these offensive tackles. And let's start with the good here, because there's plenty of bad from that first half to talk about. But the good here is Jordan Morgan just looks like an NFL starter, just looks like a starting NFL left tackle. And I would say, if that is the case, and by the way, Matt LaFleur said on the radio beforehand, like, that he would start, and then he didn't, and was in, not only did he not start, he was inactive, which is weird. I don't know why at this point, if Jordan Morgan is a starting caliber left tackle, I kind of think he should just start, because you want to see him start. You want to see him be the guy moving forward. Or you just say, look, he's going to play right guard this year and left tackle next year. But if you think he's a starting caliber left guard or left tackle, then he should be your left tackle, because he is the future at that position for you. And if you have to make a change, then you can still go back to Rasheed Walker. Now, I know there's locker room things to deal with. There's culture things to deal with. There's attitude things to deal with. How is Rasheed Walker going to deal with that? I get that part of it. But Jordan Morgan just looks like a good player. And wherever he plays, I think he's going to make this team better. The flip side of that is Anthony Belton, who had five first half penalties. It's the kind of performance that if this were a regular season game, he'd have been benched. Just straight up. And he came out in the second half and played well. In fact, on the Amar Johnson touchdown run, it was his block. He took his guy for a ride. And they scored behind his block. So you have to take the good with the bad with a rookie offensive lineman. I know he's 24 and there's going to be a lot made about that part of it, but when he has to block, he'll block. He's a really good blocker. Like the unnecessary roughness penalty, whatever, like that's right on the line. The defender was a step into the sideline. He's just trying to play hard. I'm kind of not worried about stuff like that. The face mask, he had someone else's hand in his chin. That could have easily been offsetting penalties. The defender could have been called for hands to the face. In fact, I thought should have been called hands to the face. You can't call one and not the other. I'm not going to complain too much about officiating in the preseason, but it is what it is. The lining up penalties, those are the ones that I think are really annoying. He had a false start. That's going to happen. But to go back to back with alignment penalties, that's the kind of stuff where it's just like, dude, come on, man. Come on. Like, you just got called for this. You can't have this happen again right away. Move up. Now, this is a point of emphasis. This is one of those things where, like, Juwan Taylor ruined it for everybody because he's lining up 4 yards in the backfield on pass sets and trying to get a head start. Anthony Melton does not need that. He's big enough. He's nimble enough. He's powerful enough. He doesn't really need to do that. And yes, he had a couple reps where he did not look great in this game. But overall, look at the pockets that Malik Willis was throwing into. Donovan Jennings did not have a great game overall, but he's playing DeForest Buckner, for crying out loud. Like, what do you want him to do? So that's a tough assignment for anybody. They had clean pockets most of that first half from Malik Willis. And they brought some pressure, but in terms of like one-on-one, who did their jobs? And Anthony Belton is a part of that. Nothing I saw down to down, block to block, made me change my opinion of Anthony Belton, the football player. Like, the alignment stuff, I'm not worried about at all. It's just, can you keep him focused? And remember when we had Kenton Gibbs from Locked On NC State on the show talking about Anthony Belton. He said confidence is the key with him. And so you've got to keep him up if you're this coaching staff. I know Matt LaFleur ripped into him on the way off the field. And maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he's a kick in the ass guy, not a pat on the butt guy. Every person needs to be coached different. And maybe it starts with a kick in the ass and then the arm around the shoulder later. But they need to find a way to keep his confidence up because he has the ability. We see it. And I thought he acquitted himself nicely in the second half, coming back and saying, look, this is not going to define me. I'm going to come out here and play well. And I thought he did that in the second half. I'm not going to read too much into some of these offensive linemen. I mean, I saw some of the comments on social media, people like, oh, the offensive line, they have no depth. It's like, did you understand that Jordan Morgan is technically a backup? And that Anthony Belton is technically a backup? And that Sean Ryan is playing out of position? And that Jacob Monk is like probably not an NFL player? And Donovan Jennings is having to block DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart? And they did it and it was fine? Like, come on. What are we talking about here? So the perspective part, I think, can get missed here. I come away definitely net encouraged on Jordan Morgan. Like, I don't know what else to say. I think what we're learning is family night was much more about Lucas Van Ness than it was Jordan Morgan. And we said that at the time, by the way. We went live after the game and I went, ugh, Jordan Morgan didn't look great. And that was because Lucas Van Ness got him a couple times. And now it looks like Lucas Van Ness is just going to get everybody. He got Bernard Raymond. He got Braden Smith. Like, he got Zach Tom in practice. So, like, if he's going to beat good offensive linemen, you can't worry. You just understand, okay, maybe he's just a good player. Like, if Rashawn Gary beat Jordan Morgan on a family night practice, or if Jordan Morgan struggled to block Rashawn Gary, we wouldn't go, oh man, wow, this guy stinks. Now, I'm not saying Lucas Van Ness is going to be, Rashawn Gary, but it looks like that was more about Van Ness than it was Morgan, because Morgan comes in talking about playing the Colts starters, Leatu Latu, like Kwity Paye, the real dudes that are going to play for the Colts. Some nice players. And it's just, I described it on socials as a ho-hum pass set, because it's just sort of like, yeah, I can do this. No problem. No stress. Stress-free. Anthony Belton had a stressful night, and I'm coming away neutral, I think, overall. I came away so positive about Jordan Morgan and his ability to play left tackle in this offense. I think he's just a materially better run blocker than Rasheed Walker. And so if that's the case and he can just be a nice pass protector, I think that gives you a lot of encouragement about what this team can be with him, because you have to feel like Elton Jenkins is going to be an upgrade for you. You have to feel like, Sean Ryan, another year into this, is going to help you. You hope Aaron Banks nets out sort of ahead of Josh Myers. And then if Jordan Morgan is a better player than Rasheed Walker, is certainly a better run blocker than Rasheed Walker, then your running game gets better. Your play action game with Matt LaFleur, all that stuff. I mean, I'm so much more encouraged today than 2 weeks ago when we came on here talking about Jordan Morgan. The difference really is stark. Now, Marshon Lloyd, I think, was the player everyone wanted to see coming in. But this day was really not just about Marshon Lloyd. It was about all the running backs. I want to talk about them next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all the financial accounts or what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, investments, other things. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why Monarch Money is there. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. See, they're already saving you money. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDON. Marshon Lloyd, we got his first extended glimpse at him, and it was the good and the bad of Marshon Lloyd. He had 6 carries. The whole offense was built out of him. Did not get a lot out of those carries, but again, you're talking about backup interior offensive lineman. Sean Ryan is a guard, not a center. He did not play well at center last week. Jacob Monk is maybe not an NFL player. And Donovan Jennings has got to block DeForest Buckner. Like I think they're fine with Anthony Belton and Jordan Morgan in the running game, but the rest of that interior, it's tough sledding. The one nice play from Marshon Lloyd was the wheel route, beautiful, makes the play, goes down and gets, I thought, targeted. I thought that should have been a hit to the head. That should have been at least a 15-yard penalty, if not an ejection. And by the way, I kind of think all of those should be ejections. I just think protecting brain safety is of the utmost. But I'm not gonna belabor that point here. Those are the explosive plays that you feel like you can get, that maybe Josh Jacobs is the only other guy that could have run that wheel route and that you'd have trusted to throw the ball. It was clear they wanted to get him a bunch of work in this game, and they did that. We'll see how he's coming out of it. Hopefully not a concussion. Hopefully just, a little shaken up. He did seem to get up a little fuzzy, which it's one of those words I hate to even use in this context, given what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about brain fuzziness, right? So it's what we used to call it just getting your bell rung. Well, no, that's a traumatic brain injury is what that is. So I don't want to be glib about it. But you see the ability that he has. But here's the thing. Emanuel Wilson catches a little flare and takes it for 30 yards. You see the speed. He looks faster than he did last year when he was dealing with injury. A 32-yard catch and run. Runs over a guy on the sidelines. He looks like their most natural running back. Average over 6 yards a carry in this game. 5 carries for 33 yards. But he came in after Marshon Lloyd, after Chris Brooks. And this is the thing, like, where does he go? Where does he fit? Because he's not the third down guy. They don't rely on him the same way that they rely on Chris Brooks on third down. And I don't think he's going to get the early down carries. I think that's going to be Marshon Lloyd. And so your third down guys are either going to be Josh Jacobs or Chris Brooks. So where does Emanuel Wilson fit in all of this? How many of these guys are they going to keep? And we didn't even talk about Israel Abanikanda. And I guess I have to be, I told myself I was going to be respectful, because it seemed like the announcers, especially last week, were making a concerted effort to say Abanikanda. So if that is how you pronounce it, I'm going to stop saying it like I'm from Wisconsin. Israel Abanikanda. Israel Abanikanda. They gave him a bunch of work in this game. He had 12 carries and a touchdown in this game. Was it wildly impressive? No, but he returns kicks for them. Returned a kick for them last week. He's in kick coverage for them. If he's a core special teamer, is he going to sneak onto this team? And if he does, who is he sneaking off? Because if you're a backup running back, you're going to have to play special teams. That's why I have, questions about Emanuel Wilson. Where is he going to play? I would like to see him return kicks. Frankly, I think he would be a great kick returner. Got to hold on to the ball. But then it's not just that. Then Amar Johnson, who we saw have the explosive run last week on the touchdown, scores this week a touchdown. Our pal Jason Hirschhorn sent this out during the game. It was like any running back who has gotten a touch in this game for the Packers at least has a shot to make the practice squad. And I think that's true. Abanaconda absolutely has a shot. Johnson absolutely has a shot. And how many running backs are they going to keep? I think this is somewhat similar to what we're seeing with the receiver room, where you're seeing Cornelius Johnson make plays. I thought he had a couple really nice plays, including, I believe, a 4th down conversion. And it's going to say that Julian Hicks only had 1 catch for 14 yards, but he had that unbelievable one-handed catch down the sideline, called back from penalty, and then a dot in the middle of the field that was also called back on penalty. I would have to double check, but I think maybe both Anthony Belton penalties. So he's someone that I've liked for a long time. Could he be taking the Malik Heath spot? Could he take the Bo Melton spot? The receiver room is crowded. Savon Williams is hurt, still dealing with this injury. It was the shoulder injury, had labrum surgery. He was coming back from. He was working back, had the concussion, and working back. And now, we don't quite know. We don't have the updated information on what this new injury, or it might not be a new injury. It might still be the shoulder. But he was practicing and then wasn't, and then was a little bit and then wasn't. And then didn't do joint practice and then didn't play. We are dangerously close to him having to take a redshirt season. If we went into a game today and the Packers had to play a group of receivers, like I don't know why you would trust Williams more than, say, someone like Julian Hicks, who's been on this team, who knows the playbook, who's gotten some reps. I'm not saying he's going to make the team, but Johnson and Hicks are each the kinds of receivers, developmental receivers that you want on your practice squad, because a year from now, especially in the case of someone like Johnson, who was a former elite recruit, who didn't do a ton in college, but also played on a Michigan team that didn't throw the ball very much, that there could be something exciting there. And they just, like, offensively, I know that this is a game that early on you're going, oh, I heard all about their depth. And yet the starters, it's like, come on, asking them to play real starters, like a team full of starters. The whole point of depth is you have starters. And then if you need 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys to come in and play for you, they can do that. We're not talking about a first team against a second team. No second team in the NFL, maybe in NFL history, would reasonably beat a first team on any sort of consistent basis. You would take a cavalcade of flukes to make that happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. We've seen, David best Goliath. Matt Flynn throw 6 touchdown passes. But that's a great point. It's 1 player. It's not a team full of those guys. In the NFL, that stuff just usually doesn't work. So you have all of this depth at offensive line, at receiver, at running back. Places where you generally need that depth. That's really useful to have. And then, we're seeing too, Keaton Oladapo turn into a nice player. Okay, that's a little bit of depth at safety you didn't know you had. I would be a little bit more worried about corner, where Kamal Hadden had a nightmarish day. Kalen King had a nightmarish day. I think they're a corner short. I think they've always been a corner short, a boundary corner short. It's why Bo Melton is playing out there. You've got Hobbs, you've got Valentine, you've got Nixon. They need a 4th guy who, if they needed him to play tomorrow, they could count on. Is that really going to be Bo Melton? Because it doesn't look like it's Kamal Hadden. I don't have a lot of faith in Micah Robinson. We just haven't seen enough. But can you have faith in Bo Melton? Love Bo Melton. But as someone who has to play real cornerback snaps for a team that wants to compete for a Super Bowl, that would be pretty scary to me. So as we look at some of the, the not so good stuff here, that's one of them. Now, again, we're talking about probably your cornerback 5 getting beat by starting NFL receivers. So like, yeah, if that happens, you're going to be in trouble. And Corey Ballentine did not even get those reps. My guess is they don't need to see anything more from Corey Ballentine. Like, they know what he is. Let's see what you're going to get from Micah Robinson, from Kamal Hedden. I think we got the answer, though. Those guys are just not it. So it needs to be Ballentine, who we've seen, by the way, play and start and play decently well as a backup corner. He's a special teams player. I think they're fine there. But they kind of need this Bo Melton thing to work, or they need to go sign somebody, is the reality. All right, I want to talk about the linebacker room because I don't know what's happening in practice versus the game, but this Isaiah Simmons experiment is it's not going the way that I think the Packers would hope. We'll talk about that next. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here. That means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Locked On Packers are playing Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too. Whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play Yahoo Fantasy football, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your team together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can stay and play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. So what's going on with Isaiah Simmons? Led the team in tackles, had 5 solo tackles, and yet once again, regularly looks like he's out of position. Regularly seems slow to react to certain things. And the speed and the athleticism, it's just, he is one of the all-time theoretical players who just never had a home. And I was someone saying this coming out of school. I was like, yes, there are some incredible things that he can do. And you say, well, you just don't want to put him with a defensive coordinator who is going to have him do one thing. Well, then he probably doesn't do one thing really well. And if he doesn't do one thing, at least one thing really well, he better do everything else like at a B+ level, and he just doesn't. And so I was not someone that was like, there were some people that thought Isaiah Simmons was the best player in that draft or something close to it. And I don't know. I was much more skeptical of him as a draft player. And his NFL career has really borne that out. He doesn't have elite instincts. He is very athletic, but his range is mitigated by the fact that he struggles to see it, to react in space to stuff. When you look at this team and the depth chart, this is getting dire for him. I mean, he's playing late into the third quarter of this preseason game where Isaiah McDuffie did not play. So that's 3 linebackers. By the way, getting word. Thanks for our pal Jason Hirschhorn for passing this along. We're doing this live, remember? Matt LaFleur asked about Marshon Lloyd. If he's okay, the response, we'll see. So that means he's got to go through the testing process. That's not great. But so we know Quay Walker, Edge Cooper, and Isaiah Simmons, that's going to be your group. Tyron Hopper is making this team. And I actually think Tyron Hopper has probably been just straight up the better player in these 2 preseason games. We're not, privy to every rep in practice and every film session and what is happening, in the weight room and all that stuff. But I think Tyron Hopper has just been a better player than Isaiah Simmons in these preseason games. And Christian Welch has definitely been. So that's 5. And Hopper's making this team. So that's 4 for sure. And so then it becomes down to Christian Welch and Isaiah Simmons. And then it's a special teams question. Welch can definitely play special teams. He's not going to be the gunner on the punt team, but who freaking cares? Use Bill Melton. Use one of these receivers. It would be cool to use Isaiah Simmons. But if that's the utility on his team, I just don't think the value at linebacker is there. And I think Christian Welch, there is actually some value. He can play backup linebacker if you need him to in a pinch. I kind of would rather see Tyron Hopper. I think he's starting to put things together. I think the athleticism is starting to come together for him. And there's a physicality that he brings that I really like. I want to see more Tyron Hopper, frankly. And the third preseason game, it sounds like there's going to be starters playing. Okay, after that first starting group, I want to see Tyron Hopper. I don't want to see Isaiah McDuffie at the backup mic. Or you could put Hopper and McDuffie out there together. But I just don't think it can be Isaiah Simmons. I think he is what he is at this point. Like when you've been this your whole career, I know the flashes are there, but when you've been this your entire career, I don't know why. I mean, this is like the Arrested Development, but it might work for us. I think it was a worthy dart throw, but I think at a certain point you have to just say, this is not working. I want to see Tyron Hopper as the Sam linebacker. I think he makes more sense than Isaiah McDuffie. Show me that. Let me see those guys out there together. I presumably the Packers want to see it too. So I think they have enough depth because with Cooper and with Walker, they're in a really good position there. McDuffie is a nice backup linebacker. That's what he should be. Tyron Hopper is your developmental linebacker, and Welch is your special team specialist who gives you something if he actually has to play. Quay Walker was banged up last year. Adrian Cooper was banged up last year. Isaiah McDuffie's been banged up in his career. Like, it would not be a crazy thing for him to have to play. And I guess, Isaiah Simmons is going to have a lot more NFL experience than someone like Christian Welch, but we've seen what that NFL experience looks like. It's not the best. So we'll see. I think his chances of making this roster, because remember, go back to the Friday show. He was the guy with the most to prove. And I do not think he proved it. So how far does he slide? Like if he's not the starting third linebacker in base, then what is the utility? Because the other guys know the system. They've been around. They have special teams value. So what are you really getting? And what are you giving up if you don't have him? That's the thing. What are you losing by not having him? A 230-pound guy you can use as the punt gunner? Because, who cares? It's cool. But what is its utility? Does it help you win football games? I don't think it does. So the Packers did win this football game. They're not going to take the collar in the preseason. And I think I'm excited to see where this team goes from here. The good news from joint practices is Jaden Reed seems to be moving through the process with no boot. Matthew Golden was a healthy scratch in this game. I thought we were going to get a chance to see him. We didn't. Everything sounds like it's good from Jordan Love. And they seem to come out of this game, other than Marshon Lloyd, healthy. Part of that is they didn't play anybody, but they're going to get a shot next week. There's going to be some players who actually play in the NFL in week 1 who will be playing for the Packers, and we'll get a much better view of how they see everybody. That's what I'm not going to go, oh, that player's good, that player's bad based on what happens next week. It's going to be, oh, that's where they see this player in this offense or in this defense. That's where they see that player fitting in, or where they'd like to see that player fit in. That's what the value of this next week is going to be. So be here with us for all of it. Follow me on the social medias. Follow the podcast on the social medias. Subscribe to Locked On Packers wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube, which is where we are live right now. And we will be after every game, even the preseason games, every game we'll be here on YouTube live reacting so you can stay Locked On Packers.